if you're in this space and you don't have any plans on retiring in the next 2-3 years, right, you need to start to understand this stuff, because the younger generation is going to come in behind you, do these things, and eat your lunch.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I am your host, Frank LaRosa, and as always, joined by my co-host, Executive Vice President of Sales for Elite Consulting Partners, Stacey. Frank, what's cooking?
Happy to be back, as always. How are you?
I'm good. We have a lot to cover today. So for those that are joining us for the first time, thanks for joining. For those that have been listening to us, we appreciate your loyalty. And keep listening and share this with people that you think might like this. If you're listening to us on Apple or whatever you're listening to, you can also check us out on our YouTube channel, which is continuing to grow, which is Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. And you can see what our studio looks like a little bit and check us out video-wise. Anyway, so today on this episode, it's going to be a little bit of a longer episode because I wanted to really cover, many people have watched me go to different events. I was in Vegas recently, or actually a couple times, not partying, actually working. So and then I was in Chicago at something called Strategic Coach. I'm part of something called the Arte Syndicate, which is run by Andy Frisella and Ed Milet, who you may or may not know. And a lot of this just comes under the sort of the category of continuous learning, which is one of our core values. But I think what I'd like to do today is really sort of break down really 5 areas that I think are important that everybody should understand that I've learned from outside of our industry. I think there's a lot of, we all, myself, I've spent 30 years in this business, right? And I've always thought that there isn't enough sort of like education and professional development, entrepreneurship, training, learning. It's like in school, right? They teach you business. They teach kids business, but they don't teach them necessarily entrepreneurship, right? Some colleges do, but and I think it's a huge miss. And so in our space, one of the things that's always driven me was really to be a sort of a thought leader and an educator in areas that I don't think are talked about enough. And so today, I know that's a really long.
So are you referring to within the financial services industry, or is this just sort of more, like, maybe just clarify for
Yeah, so
for
there are a lot of
everybody?
things that I've learned that from outside of our space, going to all these events, from other industries, people that I've become friends with that run huge businesses, right? Way bigger than most advisor practices that I know, in just sort of random businesses, right? Like I call them widget businesses. That you'd be shocked how much these businesses do in revenue. And I've learned a lot in growing our business. I've been able to take a lot of those lessons and apply them to my business and the financial service space. And so what I'm hoping is that some of these lessons that we want to go over today, which essentially we want to focus on five lessons, right? Number one is sort of value-centric marketing. What does that mean? Digital lead funnels. People hear that stuff all the time and not really sure what that means either. High impact activities, right? So high impact activities for your business that you should be focusing on. Playing the long game. A lot of times in our space we're very short-sighted. We want quick wins and all that stuff, and the ability to play a long game is really important. And then really, I know this sounds sort of basic, but building an exceptional team. And I know that sounds like, well, doesn't everybody build exceptional teams? you'd be surprised.
Right. Well, it's about having the right people in the right seat, as we say.
Right.
Right. It's not necessarily how we do it, but who's in that seat, because if you have natural talents, then you can achieve anything.
Right. So we'll get into that one in a little bit. But I think that's really important that, for me, just to give you some perspective, I probably spend, in terms of education, I would say somewhere in the $200,000 a year range, roughly. Not that every single year, but roughly anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000 a year in education.
And would you say, is that normal? Is that average? Do you think you should be doing more?
I think that the people that I've been around that spend that kind of money on education tend to be higher performers in their fields. And I'm saying that because I think that we are underspending as advisors, and in the financial service space, most people are underspending what they should be spending on their education. And I'm not talking, maybe I am talking about like SEPA designations, and I'm going through an M&A course right now. That stuff's good. I'm talking about the other stuff. I'm talking about just education, being part of mastermind programs, right? And be careful about some of them, because some of them are very scammy and all that other stuff. But you have to know the ones that you should be part of. That's why the ones that I'm part of are typically run by people that are actually running businesses, right? So Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, who I've been part of their syndicate group for going on now 6 years, they are both uber successful running businesses.
I think one of the things is I listen to both their podcasts on a regular basis.
And you didn't always.
No. This is in the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
But my gosh, the takeaways that you get from those, just the ideas that you can apply to working with our clients, which are advisors, and our teams is tremendous. I think the biggest message for advisors, and the ones that we come across that think that this type of education there's a means to an end, there isn't.
Right.
It's constant. You should always be finding the next thing to learn about to imply into your business.
Right. There's this saying that says new levels, new problems, right? Or the other, mo money, mo problems.
Mo problems.
Right. And the reason that's really so true is because as you grow your practice, you start to have to deal with new problems, right? The problems that I say problems, but the issues that we deal with at the level that my company's at today, I didn't have to deal with those levels when we were only doing $1 million or $2 million in revenue or $3 million in revenue.
Right, and that was only what, 7, 8, 10 years
right.
ago.
Now you're talking about almost I guess an 8-figure plus business. You have different levels of problems, and it's the same thing if you're an advisor. If you're doing $1 million in production, that's awesome. And if your goal is to go to $5 million, what you don't understand is your problems change along the way. And you can't continue to do the same things at $5 million as you were doing at $1 million. You can't have the same team. You can't have the same expectations. Your workload can't be the same. Your work day can't be the same. So all of these things are different. And I've learned a lot of these things by going to these events and listening to podcasts. And by the way, listening to the same podcasts multiple times, because sometimes you don't hear things the first time. And sometimes my wife says to me, well, why are you going to this event or whatever? You know this, you know that. And, what's your purpose? And when I go to these events and I spend the money that I'm going to spend, what I'm really trying to do, especially when you're operating at a high level, what you're really trying to find is that one thing or two things if you're lucky. Like if you go to an event and you spend $15,000 or $20,000 to go to an event and you can pull away two things,
that's huge.
That's huge.
That you can implement and actually take action on.
Right.
Because it's great if you learn about them, but if you're not executing on them, then it's just noise.
So that's an interesting point, because I see people that go to these events and they're like addicted to going to the event, right? Meaning that they feel like just because they went to the event or they're part of this mastermind, that they're just gonna grow, right? And so, but they don't execute. They don't come back and then execute on the things that they learn, and that's a huge mistake. So you don't want to do that. For us, we make it a habit that as soon as I come back from one of these events, I sort of take a lot of notes, and then I debrief with my team on the areas that I think are the most impactful, and we get right on them immediately.
Right. Who's doing what?
Right.
We won't leave a meeting until you have, topic A, topic B, topic C. Okay, break. Now go execute.
Right. Now go
and
execute.
then prove it that you're actually doing it.
Right. And so
that's the key.
So, I think that's really important to understand. I think that there's some things that we're working on along these lines that I think will be really, really great. We're not going to announce anything right now, but it'll be really great along these lines for the financial advisor community. I'm really, really excited about it, but I'm not going to get into that now. So let me just talk about a couple things here, right? So, but one of the first ones, and this is an interesting one because sometimes we run into this issue, and that is about the ability to make decisions and the speed at which you can make decisions. Because sometimes people have said to me, well, you make quick decisions, or you don't think things through fast enough or whatever. But the reality is, and there's a Marine expression, I think it's 70% versus 100, but I heard this expression a couple weeks ago, that an 80% decision today is better than a 100% decision tomorrow, right? And we see a lot of that with advisors that we're talking to, whether it's helping them transition their firm or deciding on whether they want to do a marketing plan or something else, that they candidly have a hard time making a decision.
Well, and so they've made a decision to not make a decision.
Well,
Isn't that what we say?
Right, they're making a decision to not make a decision and stay in a bad situation, right? Versus make a decision that's maybe not perfect. And I think as a real business owner, you have to get really, really comfortable that you're never going to be able to make perfect decisions, right? You have to understand that the decision what you have to be comfortable with is every decision I make, I can modify and learn from, and it gets me closer to a better decision than before. But making no decision is the worst thing to do.
Well, that's just complacency.
Right.
I know we've talked about that in other podcasts.
No, and even if an advisor, we have this expression, or basically what our mission statement is, our passion is, right? We help advisors make the right move, not just the next move, right? Because that right move might be just staying where you are, right? We are the only firm in the industry that has the ability to work with a financial advisor, even if they don't want to move, because of the other services that we offer to help an advisor, whether it's grow their business, sell their business.
Yeah, game changer.
Right? Game changer, right? So, but I think that, even deciding, when we talk to advisors, a lot of times they're hemming and hawing, they're going back and forth with moving, not moving, right? Even that decision slows them down. And so my point is, if you don't know if you want to move, then don't move. Meaning, make a decision to not move.
Right, but
and
be
stop
honest.
talking to people.
But be honest with yourself that not moving is the right decision.
Right.
And step away from that and move towards the growth of your business, or building efficiencies, or building better systems, or hiring.
And that's where
that's the pivot.
And that's where making a decision is wise, even if that decision is not moving, because from that decision, you then can make other decisions, right? From there. But if you're like in between, I don't know, and you're overanalyzing what you should do and where you should go, if you're trying so hard to decide if you should leave, you probably shouldn't leave, right? The advisors that we work with the best, that move firms, that have the most successful moves, they knew in their heart and their gut and their mind that they needed to leave, and they did it, right? It's the ones that waffle back and forth is probably not the right thing to do. So anyway, that's about decision making. I learned that over the years that you're never going to make perfect decisions, and you need to live with that. But you also need to understand how you learn from every decision that you make, good, bad, or indifferent. So, anyway, in terms of this, sort of the 5 key lessons here, one of them is sort of value-centric marketing, right? What does value-centric marketing mean, right? That just means sort of like, I call it the give, right? other people. So I spent some time with someone named Alex Hermosi, and I've listened to just about everything he's put out, and he calls it the give, right? Your value add. So you need to be marketing yourself, which I think the industry is getting better at, in terms of firms being willing to let advisors do these types of things, right? This is not like why I'm a good portfolio manager or, happy retirement planning day. Like, that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, they have to find ways to differentiate themselves,
Right?
Because the landscape is so competitive. There's a lot of advisors out there, and if I was a prospective client, I would want to know, like, what's the difference between John and Joe.
Right. And so what you have to really start to learn to build is a value centric just a value-centric marketing plan, so that when someone sees your website, someone sees your social media page, you're giving out great content. I call it the give, right? You want to give them education and value for nothing. So you're giving away. Obviously, you can't give away stock ideas and stuff like that because you get in trouble.
But industry knowledge.
But industry knowledge, right? If you focus on business owners as your clients, right? There's a lot of information that you can talk about online through whether it's videos, articles, that a small business owner would find value in, right? And so building your value add without asking is really, really important. And it's a novel idea because most people want to I'm going to give you a piece of information and then you have to book an appointment with me, right? You need to do enough value. So Alex Hermosi described this one time in one of his videos. It's sort of like you're making deposits into the bank, right? With every value-added video, you're depositing into the bank, and you only want to make withdrawals once in a while, right? And so the more money you put into the bank, the bigger the withdrawal you can make, which means basically the more value you add, then you basically are earning the right to ask them for a meeting. You're earning the right to ask them to a sit down, right?
Yep.
Especially bigger clients.
I was literally just speaking with an advisor that left a wirehouse, W-2 firm and went to an independent firm. I won't use their names. Yeah. And she, 6 months in hindsight, we were just having a conversation about things that maybe she would have done differently. And so the conversation sort of led into, well, you target business owners, not just women business owners, but business owners in general. And now you can share your experiences and maybe how, what would you have done differently along the way? And so that's some of the areas that she might put out into her website or her social media posts, targeting business owner clients.
Yeah.
And so that's a value add. I mean, it was a great conversation.
It's really simple, to build value add. As an advisor, you're having conversations with clients every single day, right? You're adding value every single day. Just repeat those things, but do it on video, right? And what you'll end up doing there is this is one of the things that I've learned is, it's like I use this expression: give, ask, right? Give, ask. So just give away the content, and then as Alex says, then charge for execution, right? Most of the time, you can give them all the secrets in the world and all the ideas and all the, exactly what to do. Most people will not do it themselves. Most people will say, hey, this is awesome. Can you do this for me? Right? So you can talk about financial planning and execution and wills and trusts and all that other stuff and give them all the knowledge. They're still going to come to you for the help, right? And so I learned that's what we call sort of value-centric marketing. And then, I've also learned over the time there's so many tools. Doing it yourself is very difficult. So there's a lot of tools that you can use that enable you to, because it takes a lot of time, right? So using the right types of tools will allow you to be more efficient in your time. So value-centric marketing is really important. Just think about what you do and the conversations you have on a daily basis, and that's your content right there. So the next one is, which I still am trying to get my arms around, which is digital lead funnels, right? Digital sales funnels, lead funnels, right? I've learned this, and I'm amazed when I sit in rooms with other business owners from other industries how much money these business owners make by understanding how to use digital sales funnels and Facebook ads and all that. I was at an event recently, in Vegas, and I won't say the name of the company, but this gentleman, a one-person shop, sells men's shampoo and and pet flea and tick protection. Totally random, right? And he sells it online, right? He does $45 million in revenue.
And why is that?
No joke. $45 million in revenue.
Is it the product?
With a $7 million bottom line.
Is it the outreach? Is it the
outreach.
systems?
It's the systems that he's using. He has mastered. He lives in Dubai. I was able to have a really interesting conversation with him. Really great guy, young guy. And he was able to master basically digital ads, right? And that's how he does business.
Amazing.
So, again, what I learned there is there are businesses that are using this technology that's out there that we in the financial services space are not using. And it's not rocket science. I asked him, how did you learn how to do this? He goes, I just went on YouTube. I swear to God. He's like, I just learned. I'm obsessive about learning is what he said. Mm-hmm. And I just spent, hours and hours and hours, weeks learning about how to do this, and I just perfected it. And he's got distributors in China, and it was amazing.
Amazing.
But I just laugh because we talk to advisors in this space in our world, right? And they, guy does $2 or $3 million in revenue, and he thinks he's the shit, right?
Well, I mean,
this
that's
guy
a good practice.
does $45 million, and he's by himself.
Well, it goes back to what we originally started talking about at the beginning of this podcast, is that whole concept of continuous learning.
Right.
He just had an appetite, an obsession with getting better, improving, getting more knowledge, being a good student of the game, as we like to say.
Right.
And look what happened.
Right.
That is proof positive right there.
Right. And so, where I go with this in terms of digital, the digital lead funnels or digital sales, right, is that I think that in our world, most advisors misunderstand what social media branding and marketing really is all about, because they say, well, I have a website. That doesn't mean anything, right? If you have a website and you're not driving any traffic to it, right, and you have no processes or systems to automate
how to capture
that information,
right,
and then how to respond to those people and how to drip on those people, it's a waste of your time, right? It's like they call them vanity metrics, right? It's just a vanity metrics. Well, I have a vanity sales. I have a website. It looks really great. Big deal. You had 3 visitors last week.
Right.
3 people looked at your site, and probably one of them was your, was your assistant or something. So what I've learned there is that there is a world outside of what we do using technology way better than everybody else. Not that this is not really maybe a little bit of a pitch, but this is one of the things that we're trying to teach our marketing clients how to do. And maybe this is why I'm passionate about it, is because they're so uncomfortable when we bring this stuff up.
Well, because
and they don't have the systems in place.
Well, because they have to look themselves in the mirror and the excuses, can't really afford it. I already do that. But my thought is, well, you can't afford not to do that.
Right.
And there's a difference between branding and marketing, totally separate.
Right. Well, one of the things that you also have to get comfortable with, and that is, we come about digital marketing, digital tools. A lot of guys will say, well, I have constant contacts, or I send out a newsletter. All right, great. Well, your open rate's 4%, right? So no one's even opening your stuff because it's not done the right way. And oh, by the way, when you send it to those people, what are you doing with it afterwards, right? If you're just sending out the email and they're waiting for the phone to ring, you're not using the tools the way you want. And so when I talk about this digital sales funnels or lead funnels, whatever you want to talk about, this is what I'm really understanding. You need to educate yourself, have an addiction to learning this stuff. I don't care how old you are. If you're in this space and you don't have any plans on retiring in the next 2-3 years, right? You need to start to understand this stuff, because the younger generation is going to come in behind you, do these things, and eat your lunch.
Right, the young business owners.
The young business
right?
owners.
They
Right.
already know this stuff.
Right. This next one is interesting, and I think this one is a constant learning curve, and that is sort of like focusing on high impact activities, right? The things that you do really well as a business owner. Obviously, this is something that I struggle with. I'm getting better at it.
Like what?
You have to just understand, like, well, this is interesting because as our industry has changed, and more advisors, as we all know, like, there's this curve, right? W-2 advisors go to independents, so independent broker dealers, and then independent advisors go to the RIA space, right? And because there's higher payouts and all that other stuff. But how many times do we talk to independent advisors, whether they're at a broker dealer or they're at an RIA, right? And they're spending half their day on compliance, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how they started in the business,
right?
Right. But they don't realize that they're being pulled into that space, and that's not a good use of their time.
Well, it's away from client facing. It's
right.
away from revenue generating.
Right. And so you have to be able to understand what's happening in your world. Again, mo money, mo problems, right? As you're growing your business, and maybe you're adding advisors to your team, right? So now the compliance piece gets bigger, and so it gets more robust. And so now all of a sudden you're spending more time on compliance because you don't want to go out and hire a better compliance person, right? Or you're actually not focused on what it actually you do during the course of a day. And so what I've learned as I've gone through some of these things is to take basically take a test at the end of a week and look at what it is you do during the course of a given week, right? I did that with you guys. Basically, like, hey, what do I spend my time on? Because you, as the business owner, your business got to a certain point because you were really good at, most likely, right, acquiring new clients, bringing on new assets, and growing the business and working with those clients. And as your business has grown, maybe into an enterprise, right, all of a sudden there are new tasks being thrown on your plate, right? Like, I mean, they're entrepreneurial things about the business, but not in the business. And that's taking up your time. And then you blink and a year goes by and you spent very little time or less time on new asset gathering and more about putting out fires. And then you're wondering why your business isn't growing as fast as it used to, because you're not spending the time where your unique ability is best spent, right? So I've learned through Dan Sullivan, and a couple other programs that I've gone through that we use, that everybody has their unique abilities, and you should be spending your time on your unique abilities within your organization, and then hire everybody around you to do those things, right? Stacey's really good at training, right? So I'm good at training, but I don't know, you're better at it. You're more organized.
Well, it's the delivery of it. It's taking the training and teaching how to sell it, how to sell the content.
Right. You're also way more organized than I am. So
we all have our strengths.
Right. But so that's how we operate, right? I know that we have more value to our organization because Stacey handles a lot of the training in our organization. But by having her do that allows me to go do other things. And so what I've learned there is that you really have to be mindful about where you're spending your time and what you're spending your time on, because you can get really distracted and not really know until it's too late.
Well, because you feel busy. You feel like, I have to take care of this compliance issue so that I can move towards doing something with, with clients. But in reality, you shouldn't be doing any of that stuff.
Right.
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 Because that's not direct revenue generation.
Right.
At all.
Right. So I've gone through some other courses. So we are subscribers to something called Traction or EOS. Right. Entrepreneurial operating system. So we integrated some of that into our business. We also integrate something called Scaling Up, which is another program actually that Traction was born from. So we're addicted to these things, and we take pieces of all of these things and put them together. And one of the things that you learn is that you need to be focusing on on the one key driver that's going to grow your business. Like, what is the one critical thing, the critical number that's going to drive your business, number, activity, right? And then you need to be spending all of your time on that one thing, right? You as the business owner. You can have people around you doing some other things, but it should all be under the guise and under the auspices of moving that one thing forward. And I would say that's, for me, one of the things that I've learned a lot. I'm not there yet. We're getting there.
You're maturing.
I'm getting better.
You're getting better.
I'm getting better. And so I wrote this down on this piece of paper. Like, when I talk about new levels, new problems, but also new levels, new opportunities. And one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is the ability to say no to ideas, which is challenging for entrepreneurs, right? Because we like to move and shake.
Everybody has a great idea.
Everyone's got a great idea, and it's all sounds great. And the challenge with successful entrepreneurs is, we have the ability to do something and want to make it work, and we'll commit to it. And so we have to be really careful, and you have to be really careful not to do too many things, right? And I see this with advisors all the time. You start to make a lot of money, maybe more money than you ever thought you'd make, and then you want to get into other things. You want to get into other investments. You want, not like stock investments, but you want to get into other outside investments. You want to start owning gyms. You want to start owning whatever, car washes, and you all of a sudden you get distracted by these other opportunities because you can afford to do them, but it doesn't make it a good idea.
Well, they forget or they get distracted by what actually got them to where they sit today.
Right.
And sometimes those back to basics can be mundane and boring and routine.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, I want the next shiny object, the next shiny idea. But in reality, if you forget about the basics, we talk about this
right.
all the time, then that's a hindrance to revenue.
If you the time that you spent with doing this other thing outside of your normal world, right? If you spent that exact amount of time inside your world on your one main business, you would grow it faster. So Alex, he uses this expression, Alex Ramosi, and if you've ever seen The Matrix, he calls it the woman in the red dress. And for those of you that have watched my podcasts, where I'm doing a podcast or a video from my office, behind behind me on my grease board, in big letters, is "Beware of the woman in the red dress." That's how dangerous it really is. And so if you don't know the movie, so Morpheus, who's Neo's Keanu Reeves, right? And they're walking down the street, and there's everybody that's wearing black suits, and everyone's going back and forth. And all of a sudden, this really beautiful woman in a red dress walks past Neo, Keanu Reeves, and he starts staring at her. And then Morpheus says, "Were you listening to me, or were you paying attention to the woman in the red dress?" And as he says that, Neo turns around to go look at the woman in the red dress again, and then the bad guy has got a gun to his head. Right?
That's extreme.
But that's the distraction, though.
Yeah.
If you are not focused on your business and you get too distracted by the woman in the red dress, it's gonna not end well for you. And your main business, your main thing, is not going to be your main thing anymore. And I hear too many people talk about side hustles, and I need to have a side hustle. Bullshit. You don't need to have a side hustle. You need to do one thing and do it really well. You might think that you can make money in real estate, or you can do other things. Maybe if it's passive, right? If it's a passive investment, maybe. But if you're going to try to be a real estate developer and you're going to try to grow your wealth management business, you're probably hurting yourself on both sides, because you're not going to do either one really well. Most people would contend that if you just put 100% of your energy into your wealth management business, you'll make more money. And so that's one of the things that I've learned over the years the hard way. And the challenge that I'm still trying to learn is the ability to say no to things, because as you make more money as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, more opportunities come to your door, and you have to be able to learn.
It's a test. It's almost like it's a test.
Well, they say, listen, that the most successful people in this world, what they're really, really good at is the ability to say no to things. And so that's sort of high impact activities, look at high impact activities, focus on high impact activities, and the ability to say no to other
distractions.
Yeah. So this next one, the fourth one, which is an interesting one because I'm really trying to hone on this one. That is playing the long game, right? Too many of us want success right away, and we want things to work out right away, and then we get frustrated, and or we don't have the patience to see something through because in our mind this thing should work out right away. And what I've learned is that like any big decision that we make, you got to okay, listen, we're gonna do this thing, and we're not gonna make money on this thing for at least a year, right? And you have to understand where it's gonna go long term, and how does it impact the one thing, and then does it make sense for you to do that? And if you can't say yes to that answer, then you shouldn't do it, right? If you're not willing to be in it for the long game, it can really be detrimental to you. But it's really just learning patience.
Well, that's it, and it's finding, because that's what happens is people get impatient because there's no gratification, or they're not finding. One of the things from Ed Milet's podcast was the small wins,
right? The
incremental wins to, what gets you up every day, the boring, mundane things. You have to find gratification in that, and then wow, what do you know? The long game gratification shows up.
Right.
But you have to do those small little things and feel gratified along the way to keep you consistent.
Yeah, when we talk to advisors a lot, I'll use maybe M&A as an example. Sometimes we work with a client that's trying to buy a practice, or their long game is they want to go from $2 million to $20 million, right? That's their long game, which is fine. It's a great long-term object. I ask them a question all the time: what do you want to be when you grow up? That's really a long game question, right? But they start to get frustrated because they on their first opportunity to do a deal, it doesn't get done, and they get pissed off. And their second deal doesn't get done. But what they're not learning, they're sort of getting aggravated, not at us, but they're just frustrated, right? Because they want to go from 2 to 20 overnight. What they're not learning is that each deal that they go through that they're not getting, they're learning something, right? They're learning, okay, now I need to have a better brand because that was one of the reasons why that guy didn't do the deal with me. Or I need to have my financing in order. I need to have my books and records clean. I need to have a better story. I need to have a better pitch deck. I need to whatever it is, right? And then look at the wins within those. So the win in that case is education, right?
Right.
That they're learning how to be a better buyer for the long term.
Right. Gaining knowledge, so when that large opportunity comes up, then you can execute. Then you can utilize that newfound knowledge that you have.
Right. And so, when we look at, I know a lot of people do planning and they plan out, 10 years or whatever. We typically do a 1, a 3, and a 5-year plan. Yeah, we might have some long-term goal, but when we talk about our plan, and this is one of the things that I've learned through working with Alex and also with scaling up, is we really now only focus on a 1, 3, and a 5-year goal, right? In terms of actionable ideas, right? Nothing that we do is based on our 10-year goal. It's really based on our 1, 3, and 5, right? Because between 5 and 10, so much can happen.
That seems really far away.
Right, but so much can happen, right? Because you don't know if you hit your 5-year goal, in your 5 years, you don't know yet what other problems are going to come up that you're going to have to deal with, or your sort of like 10-year vision goal might change, right? So if our vision in 10 years is $100 million, and in 5 years, we're way ahead of our goal, well, maybe that $100 million number isn't the right number.
Right, it can be changed.
Right. So that's why you have to sort of, it's great to think 10 years out and, oh my God, I want to do this whole thing. But I see people that they have these ideas and goals long term, and they are not doing the things short term that are necessary to hit those goals, right? They just want to talk about the big idea and the big hit and the big sale or whatever it is, but then they don't want to do the little things and
That get you there.
Revel in the small wins
Right.
that get you there. So I think as a business owner, you need to be really mindful about getting comfortable playing the long game, but then doing the things today that will stack up. Like you need to stack those wins for the long game. The last one is, this is an interesting one because it's really about building an exceptional team. And I know that this might seem obvious, but you know this. How many people that you talk to that are good advisors that either don't have a team around them, right, or really don't have, the team around them was sort of like put together with duct tape, and they're not really the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, I mean,
they're their friends or family or whatever.
We could probably do a whole podcast on the human capital piece and who's right and who does what. But in the end, it's like any sports team. We're sports people, so it's like any sports team. If you have one weak link, whether you notice it or not, everything can come crashing down.
Slows
whether
the whole team
it's,
down.
Winning a huge tournament or the Super Bowl or
Pickleball tournament
or racquetball, right? Whether it's something like that or achieving $100 million company in 10 years, whatever it is, if you have the wrong people. That can cause, issues or conflict or too much of a toxic environment, then it's going to be harder to get there. That's the stuff that slows you down. So you really have to take a good look in the mirror and at your people, and are they the right people? And are they in the right position to help that flywheel, right? To help that consistency of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, one of the best books that I would recommend everybody read was written by Dan Sullivan. It's called Who Not How. And, I think I was fortunate over the years, even as a manager, to have really good people on my team that helped me run the branches, right? I was very fortunate. I was just fortunate, lucky, it just worked out that way. But you really need to, it's really important to have people in positions within your organization that love doing the thing that they're doing, right? And what we've tried to do as we've grown is we continue to try to hone in on having each team member, focus on just the one thing that they do really well.
Their natural talents.
Their natural talent.
Yep.
Because it's easy for them. They love to do it, and it's easy for them, right? One of the things that I work on is what are the things that I like to do, I'm really good at? What are the things that I am good at but aren't passionate about, right? And so I do some of those things.
Oh, we all have to.
Right. We try to have other people do. As an example, so I like doing spreadsheets, Excel. I like doing that stuff. I'm just not as good at it as our CFO, who loves doing it. Right.
And I don't want to come anywhere near them.
Right. So
but I sit in the meetings.
He loves to do it, and he's exceptional at it.
Yes,
right?
he's exceptional.
So when I hired him look, you want to bring people on and be willing to pay the right people to bring on the right people. But since I brought him onto the team, I really don't even do spreadsheets anymore because he can do them faster and better than me.
Right, but you pull ideas from it to help you make better decisions about the business.
Right.
So you have to be involved in spreadsheet land. But
I don't do them. Right.
Right.
And so that's a whole nother topic in terms of the importance of data in your organization, understanding data, and having somebody on your team or having somebody that you work with that can help you pull data, help you make decisions. But that's a little bit of a different topic. Right. We'll talk about that in another show. But building an exceptional team is really about having people. The other thing is, if you don't have a set of core values, you got a problem. And so when we build our team, we make sure that we have a set of core values, 7 core values, that everybody on our management team subscribes to those core values, because you all have to be rowing in the right direction. And what I mean by that is you can have somebody that's good at the position that they're in, right? Meaning that what they're doing for the organization, they're good at, but they might not subscribe to what the organization subscribes to, and then they will be undermining you as a leader without you even knowing it. And so you think that they're doing a good job for you, but the reality is they're not.
Right.
They're actually hurting you long term because they're slowing down the progress of the organization.
Because they don't have that belief. They don't
Right.
have the belief in what we're all trying to do.
Right.
And it comes out in different ways,
Right.
intentional or unintentional.
Intentional, unintentional. And so it's really, really important that not only do you have people on your team that enjoy the thing that they're doing for the organization as it relates to the one thing that's going to drive the organization forward, right? But they also have your beliefs as the owner of the organization, and subscribe to the things that you subscribe to, and match up to your core values. If you don't have core values, you need to get core values. That's a whole other topic, which we've done before. But and I'll tell you this: as a business owner, it's your business, right? You're the owner, and you should not acquiesce to the values that you adhere to because somebody on your team is giving you pushback on those values. My suggestion to you is get rid of that person, right? Because it's your team, it's your company. You're the one, I'll say with your name on the door, right? You're the one taking the risk if things go south. You're the one that has to put up the money. You're the one taking all the risks. That's why you make the money. And I see too many advisors and practices that have multiple people on their teams, and they try to compromise in certain areas of running the business. You are successful because you probably didn't compromise that much, meaning that you were a competitive person, and you probably did not compromise in terms of what you wanted, when you wanted it, and why. And as you build out a team, you have to have confidence in continuing to be the person that made you successful, right? And understand that, now I'm not saying be a jerk, right? But
No, but you can tell. But sometimes you have to make a gut instinct or a hunch decision, right? And sometimes you have to go with that.
yeah, listen,
that's what I've noticed.
So I'll just say personally, I had dealt with this for years and compromised on with someone, and it probably held us back, right? We probably would be. We have a good business now. We have a great business now, but we probably would be further down the road if I had not compromised as much. And obviously, there's some people that aren't here anymore, and the company's never been better because of that. And that's the lesson that I learned the hard way. And it's interesting because I went to an event. I was in St. Louis at an Arte event. It was at the First Forum headquarters, and we were in these breakout sessions, and there was 7 or 8 of us in a group, right? And one business owner says to us as a group, my biggest problem right now is my best producer is also my worst problem, right? In terms of cultural fit and just lots of issues.
A headache.
And just to give you some color, like in that group, there was 1 or 2 guys that were doing maybe a couple $1 million a year in revenue. One guy that was a restaurant conglomerate owner or something like that. They did $125 million in revenue. So there was a spectrum of business owners there, right? But to a guy, because it was all men in that group, but to a person, we all said, get rid of her. Get rid of her. And he was like shocked. And we all agreed that the benefit, the harm that she's doing to the organization is way, way more harm than the good she's bringing because she's the number one producer.
Well, it has a domino effect too. It starts
Right.
affecting other people's beliefs in different things and their optimism. I mean, it totally can destroy a culture.
So when you're looking at your practice as an advisor and maybe you have a strong assistant and you're like, oh my God, if she left, my world would crater. It won't. I can promise you it won't. If she's being obstinate or she's just, leaving before you needed to leave or whatever it is that she's doing or he's doing, right? You have a junior advisor, whatever it is, they're causing friction in your mind and your energy because as a business owner, you have to protect your energy. And sometimes that's the kind of stuff that drains your energy because you're dealing with human capital drama all the time. Right?
Fogs your brain to make decisions.
Right. We have grown much faster over the last several years because we filtered, I'll just say filtered out, and it is a nice way to put it. We filtered out a lot of human capital drama, and we're growing much, much faster, and we're having more fun doing it.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we don't come in the office worried about what's going to blow up now and who's going to be dealing with whatever, right?
What's today's problem?
What's today's problem? If you have people in your organization, and this is a tough lesson to have, I know this, you have to move on from those people or bring on the right ones, and also pay them, right? Do not be afraid to pay up for talent, because building an exceptional team, look what happened to the Eagles. Sorry, I didn't want to talk about football today.
Go Eagles.
Right, go Birds. Right? Well, look what happened. The Giants didn't want to pay. I mean, it's all on Instagram, whatever, because they had this on video recording because of the Hard Knocks show, right? But the Giants didn't want to pay him, and the Eagles paid up for Saquon Barkley. No one thought that they would pay for him, that someone would pay that kind of money for Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles did, and look what happened.
Game changer.
Right? Game changer. And there's a video, and I give them all the credit in the world, of Jalen Hurts and Saquon on the sideline talking right before the end of the Super Bowl, and Saquon goes up to Jalen Hurts and basically says, like, congratulations, or something to that effect. And Jalen Hurts, as a leader, says, this was all you, dude. Something to that effect. He goes, you were the game changer. He goes, it was all you. It was all you. And Saquon didn't understand that. And what Jalen said was, you were the game changer. You made the difference, right? And that's what bringing on the right team members and paying them the right amount of money can do for your organization. Because I don't think without Saquon, the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't think they're even in the Super Bowl, right? Because it changed the dynamic of the whole I'm not going to get into football today,
right.
But it changed the whole dynamic of the team.
Right. And
that's what happens, right? We have game changers. Stacey joined our firm. That was a game changer for us. My chief operating officer came joined our firm. That was a game changer for us. And every
CFO.
time we brought on a game changer in our organization, our business grew exponentially.
Right.
Right? You have to do the same thing. Building an exceptional team as the business owner gives you significantly more power, meaning not like power like bossy power, but gives you more power to then go do the thing that you're really, really good at, and most likely that is talking with clients, getting them to bring assets in, and then finding more prospects and finding more clients, or maybe it's recruiting, finding more recruits, right? That's the difference. That's the game changer. That when you bring in the right people and you build an exceptional team, that's why it's so important. And do not penny pinch, right? Right down to an assistant, right? If you have a really strong, potentially really strong assistant, he or she is awesome, pay her so she's happy or he's happy. I see too many advisors that have to share an assistant or whatever, and that are pissed off because they're not getting attention. It's because they don't want to pay the assistant anything. It's a huge mistake in the W-2 space.
Right, because he or she is literally the backbone of the firm or the day-to-day.
Right. So anyway, that was a long podcast. Normally, we don't normally go that far, but there's so many more lessons that we can learn. But these are the critical ones that I think for us, at least, as I've learned these things over the last couple of years, investing in our education, and then just bringing back that education to the community, that have made our business grow exponentially faster than maybe we were before.
Absolutely.
Right? It was growing it was growing before, but it was sort of like just through sheer willpower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but these small incremental changes, multiple small incremental changes over time brought us to where we are.
Make a huge difference.
Huge difference.
So, listen, we spend a lot of time working with advisors, not just moving firms, but we help them with growing their practices in a couple different areas. So if you want to have a conversation about these types of things, and you're struggling with growing your business, maybe you don't have the right accelerator on your business to help you get to where you want to go. These are the types of things that we do for our clients. These are the kinds of coaching sessions that we have with our clients.
Yeah, every day.
Every single day.
Every day.
They sit in the chair, and sometimes they get therapy sessions and all these different things. and coaching them about having the right conversations with their team members. Again, we are more than just a firm to help advisors move. We're here to help advisors grow. We're here to help people make the right decision, not just not just where they're going to be moving, but whether it's the right choice or what are they going to do to grow their practice. Should they be an acquirer or not an acquirer? Should you recruit advisors or not recruit advisors?
Yeah, build a better business.
Right.
That's the goal.
That's our passion. That's what we're working on. So if you have any questions, you want to talk to us, obviously you can reach out to us. You can click the link in the description. You can also shoot Stacey an email at, what's your email address?
Stacey@eliteconsultingpartners.com, Stacey with EY, or
you can email me at frank@eliteconsultingpartners.com. You can also DM me on my Instagram account, which is franklarosa.elite. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.